So without any further ado, I'd like to invite up the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Maryland to testify with her panel, our friend Aruna Miller. Okay. My sister from another mother. Right. Okay, and I will just tell the witnesses, please don't push the buttons there. And you may begin, Madam Lieutenant Governor.
Well, good afternoon, Chairman Barbe. Thank you for your lovely introduction, Vice Chair Stein, and the members of Environment and Transportation Committee, and our friends from Economic Matters. It's great to be here. I am Aruna Miller, Lieutenant Governor of Maryland, and I am so honored to be here to represent a bill for the Moore-Miller administration to testify in support of House Bill 50, Clean Transportation and Energy Act. Maryland has one of the most ambitious climate change plans in the nation, largely due to the work that your committee has spearheaded over the years, so thank you for that. And as a result, in 2020, Maryland exceeded its greenhouse gas reduction target of 25%, and instead achieved a 30% reduction from the 2006 levels. The Climate Solution Act of 2022, as passed through your committee, requires 60% reduction in economy-wide greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. We must act swiftly, boldly, and thoughtfully. As you know, the transportation sector is now the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in Maryland. Medium and heavy-duty vehicles account for 4% of vehicles on the road, and yet they are responsible for nearly 25% of total transportation sector greenhouse gas emissions. Furthermore, medium and heavy-duty vehicles disproportionately impact our most vulnerable residents, low-income communities, and communities of color, who often live near freight hubs, bus depots, and trucking corridors. Transitioning medium and heavy-duty trucks to zero-emission vehicles will be a key component in achieving additional reductions. And businesses agree that there is long-term cost savings and benefits that can be captured by decarbonizing commercial vehicles. Policy innovations such as House Bill 550 can expedite the market transition. House Bill 550, the Clean Transportation and Energy Act, will do this by creating incentives, not mandates. House Bill 550 will allow businesses and local governments to recoup 100% of the cost difference between combustion engine and zero-emission medium heavy-duty vehicles that they purchase or retrofit. House Bill 550 will extend the Maryland Energy Administration's electric vehicle supply equipment rebate program and expand the program to meet green commercial and local government demand for electric vehicle infrastructure. And House Bill 550 will empower state agencies with the resources they need to make these programs both robust and effective. Studies show that by 2030, nearly half of the medium and heavy-duty trucks will be cheaper to buy, operate, and maintain as zero-emission vehicles than traditional combustion engine vehicles. And House Bill 550 will lead this charge. Through the increased demand for zero-emission vehicles, we can meet our clean energy goals while increasing job opportunities. One example of this is right here in Washington County. The Volvo Group, who will testify later, will share with you about their production facility in Hagerstown, Maryland, which employs hundreds of Marylanders building the engines and transmissions for heavy-duty vehicles and has already made investments in facilities that would test the production of zero-emission vehicles. Thank you, and I ask for your favorable report for House Bill 550.
Thank you very much. We have a panel of 6 witnesses, Safer O'Toole with the Governor's Legislative Office, Landon Farrig with MEA, Louis Campion with the Motor Truck Association, Kelly Colvin with Cisco, Jonathan Miller with the Volvo Group, and rounded out by Chris Hoagland with the Maryland Department of the Environment. So I will turn now to Safe Ratul. Safe, welcome to the committee. You have the floor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Chair Barve, Vice Chair Stein, distinguished member of the joint session here in the Environment and the Transportation Committee, as well as the Economic Matters Committee. For the record, my name is Saif Ratul. I'm the Deputy Legislative Officer for Governor Moore. And I want to thank the Honorable Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller for presenting the HB 550, the Clean Transportation and Energy Act. It is my privilege to be here today to share a little bit more detail about the HB 550 and to request a favorable committee report. This bill is intended to benefit all Marylanders. Our goal is to take on transportation-related emissions that have been a major contributor to climate change in this state and have been a disproportionate impact on our most vulnerable residents in the state. So, a few aspects of the bill. At first, it seeks to expand and extend our existing electric vehicle supply equipment rebate program. Since the program has been established, we have seen a rising demand for this program. And to address that, this bill will extend the current program to the year 2026 and remove the annual appropriation cap of $1.8 million. This will also provide additional flexibility for the Maryland Energy Administration to oversee, manage, and administer the program and will make the process more competitive. Second, this bill will expand our current medium and heavy-duty vehicle program that existed. This medium and heavy-duty vehicles contribute significantly to our greenhouse gas emissions. To address that, our program will incentivize people, businesses, and local government by providing up to 100% of the incremental cost through various rebates and grants. And we are defining incremental cost is the market value difference between a conventional vehicle and a same-class zero-emission vehicle. This bill also aims to provide up to 100% of the cost for charging equipment related to the medium and heavy-duty level zero-emission vehicles. So this will provide a significant financial incentives for local entities to purchase zero-emission vehicles that will not only increase the demand, but also will enhance Maryland's competitiveness in the region comparing to some of the other neighboring states. Third, this bill aims to alter the use of Alternative Compliance Payment Program, otherwise known as the ACP program, allowing the ACP revenues to be available in the General Strategic Energy Investment Fund, also known as the C Fund. This grant will provide that opportunity to continue a much greater investment in various low-income and environmental justice communities in energy-related loans and grants, renewable energy programs such as solar, and carving out these transportation section greenhouse emissions. So with that, I request a favorable committee report, and I look forward to working with our legislatures, this committee, and our stakeholders in partnership on any potential amendments to this bill. So I'm happy to answer any question later on or provide additional information as the committee requests. Thank you, sir.
Okay, we'll go to questions after all the people on your panel have testified. Next, we'll listen to Landon Farrig. Landon, welcome back.
Chairman, thank you so much. Members, thank you for having me today. For the record, my name is Landon Farrig. I'm the Legislative Liaison for the Maryland Energy Administration. Our written testimony contains some finer points that are specific to MEA. I encourage you to read it, but in the interest of time, I won't repeat that testimony here. Generally, this bill represents an important step in a transition to a clean energy economy, a paradigm shift for the transportation sector and for clean energy. It's also an important component of our efforts to combat greenhouse gas emissions. I would echo the Lieutenant Governor's sentiment today, as well as the testimony offered by the Governor's office. For the reasons stated, MEA urges a favorable report on House Bill 550, and I will remain available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, let's hear from Louis Campion. a frequent flyer in our committee, good friend Lewis. Welcome back.
Slide this over and I won't touch the button, Mr.
That's
Chairman.
right.
So, thank you. For the record, Lewis Campion, Maryland Motor Truck Association. We certainly understand the continued need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the transportation sector. We have members that are pilot testing zero-emission vehicles, typically battery electric today. Those tests are on a small scale, but they are certainly a growing interest. Typically, those are trucking companies that are engaged in local or regional haul deliveries, operating predominantly in Maryland, and then returning to those terminals back for charging each evening. And those test results have been very positive for the companies that are doing that. The drivers tend to like these vehicles. They are quieter. They obviously don't have the tailpipe emissions, and they offer a very smooth ride. There are two real hurdles to trucking companies adopting this technology. There are certainly some operational limitations, but if you have met those operational limitations, those hurdles are infrastructure and financial cost up front of the vehicles, which we've talked about in this committee before. The cost is typically 2 to 3 times higher than a traditional powered vehicle. I have a real-world example from one company in our membership in my written comments, so I won't get into that specifically. And there is just a lack of any available public charging infrastructure today for medium and heavy-duty vehicles. Our industry is one that is made up of small businesses. The big trucking companies, but 90% of the trucking industry runs 6 trucks or fewer. And those upfront costs are dramatic for companies of that size. These vehicles are coming, but if the state is serious about moving to a zero-emission truck future, we have to have that financial assistance, and we certainly appreciate the governor's office and the administration introducing this legislation to try and help with those, and we ask for a favorable report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lewis. Next, we'll hear from Kelly Colvin with Cisco.
Hi, good afternoon. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, my name is Kelly Colvin, and I'm here today on behalf of Cisco to support House Bill 550. Cisco is the global leader in the distribution, selling, and marketing of food and food products. Our customer base includes restaurants, healthcare facilities, lodging establishments, and other customers who prepare meals away from home. In Maryland, our broadline distribution facilities in Jessup and Delegate Terrace's district and Pocomoke City in Delegate Otto's district service thousands of Maryland customers each year. As a recognized food service industry leader in sustainability, Cisco feels a very real obligation to reduce our carbon footprint. It is for this reason we have made the commitment to electrify 35% of our fleet by the year 2030. Actions that have followed this pledge include signing an MOU with Daimler's Freightliner unit to purchase up to 800 of their E-Cascadias, deploying 40 EV trucks to our fleet in Riverside, California this year, as well as being in various stages of EV implementation at dozens of other sites across the United States, including Maryland, where we'll begin outfitting Cisco Baltimore with 10 electric trucks by the year 2023. Jessup represents our first electrification effort on the East Coast, and we're very grateful for Governor Moore and the legislature's recognition that without public-private partnerships, projects like this are very hard to get off the ground. By way of an example, one Class 8 diesel truck costs about $125,000 versus a Class 8 electric truck, which costs around $400,000. In addition to the truck, charging stations cost $100,000 per unit. There are infrastructure needs, engineering costs, as well as workforce development costs, trainer drivers, as well as our mechanics on how to use the vehicles. All in, this type of endeavor can cost tens of millions of dollars per site. But the benefits are very tangible. Removing just one Class 8 diesel truck from the road and replacing it with an electric truck is the equivalent of reducing greenhouse gas emissions from 10 passenger cars. If continued, the EV Fleet Incentive Program in Maryland has the potential to help Cisco reduce the equivalent of greenhouse gas emissions from over 950 passenger cars, which equates to 492,000 gallons of gasoline and 4,307 metric tons of carbon dioxide per year. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I urge the committee to give House Bill 550 a favorable report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's turn now to Jonathan Miller with the Volvo Group North America.
Thank you, Chairman Barve, and thank you to the committee for having me here today to testify in support of House Bill 550. My name is Jonathan Miller, and I head up government relations for Volvo Group in North America. We are a global supplier of commercial trucks, buses, construction equipment, and marine and industrial engines. We have about 14,000 U.S. employees. And in Maryland, our Hagerstown powertrain facility employs nearly 2,000 people. It is our sole powertrain facility for North America. 1,400 of them are members of UAW Locals 171 and 1247. We also have 60 people in a parts distribution facility in Elkridge. We also happen to be the last major automotive manufacturer in the state of Maryland. Our Hagerstown plant develops and manufactures and tests heavy-duty powertrains, transmissions, and axles for our Mack and Volvo Trucks brands, as well as for Prevost and Volvo buses at our 280-acre campus. The Hagerstown plant manufactures all modular power boxes. These are the electronic brains of an electric truck, and we do that for both our Volvo VNR electric truck and our Mack LR electric refuse truck. Last year in 2022, Mack and Volvo were the market leaders in this new Class 8 electric truck market. But I would emphasize that it's at the very beginning stages when you compare us to the light-duty industry. We are only now just moving into this zero-emission space. Volvo Group is supporting the Paris Climate Agreement and Science-Based Target Initiative. Our goal is to be 100% fossil-free by 2040, and we've set another goal of being 35% battery electric in everything that we sell by 2030. So to do that, we're going to need good policies, and we have to work together in public-private partnerships. And that's why we think that's put forward is a really helpful tool. It was noted about the extremely high costs of battery electric trucks. They are 2 to 4 times more expensive than their diesel counterparts. That's because batteries are very large and they are very expensive. In time, those prices will come down, but today they are very high. And the other main challenge is charging infrastructure. Louis talked about it. There is no heavy-duty charging infrastructure today available. We have 3 public charging stations in the country today for heavy-duty trucks, so we've got a lot of work to do together to roll up our sleeves and provide the conditions that are going to be necessary to help us make this transition. With that, I'll stop. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then finally on this panel, Chris Hoagland with MDE, rather.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Thanks for having me. I'm Chris Hoagland. I'm the Director of the Air and Radiation Administration at the Department of the Environment. MDE supports House Bill 550, which will help the state transition to the use of zero-emission vehicles. Medium and heavy-duty trucks are one of the most prevalent sources of air pollution in communities facing environmental injustice in Maryland. Electrifying these vehicles will provide significant direct air quality benefits to those communities and contribute to statewide progress on clean air. Electrifying heavy-duty vehicles is also a priority for climate change. As has been noted, the transportation sector is the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in Maryland. We've made a lot of progress over the last few decades reducing greenhouse gas emissions under the Climate Solutions Now Act passed last year. We have a lot more work to do to meet the new goals to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 60% by 2031 and to net zero by 2045. Further reductions from the transportation system are absolutely necessary to achieve those goals. The bill will enhance incentives for owners and operators to purchase the vehicles and to install the charging infrastructure to operate them, and will complement other work the General Assembly and MDE is undertaking, for example, to implement the Advanced Clean Trucks rule in Maryland. For these reasons, MDE urges favorable report for House Bill 550. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are more people who are signed up in favor, but I will entertain questions this moment if anybody has any. Well, seeing none, you come away unscathed. That's a good thing. Okay, then let me proceed to the next people who are going to be. Thank you very much, Madam Lieutenant Governor, and your staff. Next, let's go to Pete Kitzmiller. Matthew Chen are the last 2 people who were signed up purely favorable, and then we'll go to favorable with amendments. And Okay, well, Matthew is here, so why don't you start, and hopefully the word will get to Pete if he's not testifying someplace else.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. I'm Matthew Chen, Director of Government Affairs for Blink Charging Company. I'm honored to testify on behalf of the company in support of House Bill 550, the Clean Transportation and Energy Act. Blink is a leader in the electric vehicle charging industry. We have deployed nearly 66,000 charging points across 27 countries. Last year, Blink acquired Maryland-based SemiConnect, an EV charging manufacturer and network services company based in Bowie. I'm pleased to inform you that Blink will expand its Bowie facility by 30,000 square feet, investing $49 million over 10 years and creating 60 new jobs. House Bill 550 is essential to strengthen Maryland's competitiveness for EV investments. We commend Governor Wes Moore, the Lieutenant Governor, and the General Assembly for your leadership to advance zero-emission transportation. Already, the Maryland Energy Administration has successfully overseen EV infrastructure programs, such as the Charge Ahead Grant Program for Level 2 charging stations. Maryland seeks to have 600,000 EVs on state roads by 2030, and as of this past January, there are now more than 64,000 EVs registered in the state. According to the Maryland Department of Transportation, that's an increase of nearly 2,000 within a month. We've made major progress, but we have even more to do. We strongly support House Bill 550 and welcome the proposed extension of the Electric Vehicle Recharging Equipment Rebate Program through fiscal year 2026. We also support removing the limit on the maximum amount of rebates that MEA may award. The proposal to cover up to 100% of the incremental cost of a qualified medium or heavy-duty zero-emission vehicle will encourage fleet operators to switch to much cleaner options. In closing, Blink appreciates your consideration of our comments and your commitment to ensuring that EV charging is affordable, reliable, and widely accessible across the great state of Maryland. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Pete Kitzmiller around? Okay, I have to say, this is Matthew. I'm looking at the sign-up sheet. Are you really at 4961 Tesla Drive?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Ironic. Okay. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Now we have a number of people who are signed up favorable with amendments. And they are, the first three are Ellen Valentino, Josh Tulkin, Mike Halloran, and, Lynn Heller and Kim Coble are also signed up. So if the five of you can squish up front, that would be terrific.
Thank you.
Would you like to start?
I will, and thank
Ellen?
you. Mr. O'Halloran will not be attending this hearing. Good afternoon. My name is Ellen Valentino. I'm here today on behalf of the Mid-Atlantic Petroleum Dealers Association, and I signed up favorable with the amendment because I didn't want the hearing to come and go without talking about the repeal of the service station incentive program in this, and why maybe it's been underutilized for so many years, which might have been the rationale for repealing that. And that's because I never thought there was a real understanding by our industry or policymakers about the cost of installing electric vehicle charging equipment in the service station or convenience store realm. And I think they're a critical industry with respect to this state moving forward and making sure that there is they call it, I don't know, driving anxiety, or that there's an infrastructure in place that can sustain not just interstate travelers, but intrastate travelers as well. Just to give you an idea, the cost of installing a forced charging system within a service station probably is around $350,000. That includes the chargers, the electrical infrastructure. It's pretty significant. So my hope is just to open that conversation here. Maybe there are other policies we can look at, whether it's a personal property tax exemption, or at least some kind of recognition that this type of industry and business owner needs to be looked at maybe differently in order to accomplish the goal and the other policy objectives here in this state. So that's why you have favorable with amendment. I have to be part of the conversation, and again, I didn't want the hearing to go without that recognition. Thank you.
It's always great to have you as a part of the conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Josh Tulkin, welcome back to the committee, Josh.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Josh Tolkien on behalf of the Maryland chapter of the Sierra Club and our 70,000 members and supporters urge a favorable report with some amendments on this critical legislation. I really appreciate the governor and the lieutenant governor's leadership in elevating the importance of providing rebates to both medium and heavy duty trucks as well as the charging systems. These trucks are a smaller proportion of our overall fleet, but have a disproportionate impact on both greenhouse gas emissions as well as harmful air pollution. We think that this does need to be paired with the Advanced Clean Truck Rule, which we've already spoken with your committee about. This legislation also would provide incentives or augment existing incentives for promoting solar energy, particularly within overburdened and disadvantaged communities. We do urge aligning the legislation with the definition created under CSNA to use those now state codified terms of overburdened and underserved. Currently, the state is behind on deployment of renewable energy and specifically its solar energy goals. That is in fact part of the source of the funding here, and ensuring that a minimum percentage of the funding in this program go to renewable energy will allow us to strike the right balance between expanding the truck funding while also ensuring that we're maintaining a level of funding for clean renewable energy. And we have full confidence in the committee finding the right balance between those two for this important source of funding. With that, we appreciate the chance to testify today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kim Coble, welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've lost my voice, so I'm going to be really brief, but I did want to make sure, I'm Kim Coble with the Maryland League of Conservation Voters, and I did want to make sure that you understood our deep support for this bill. Great bill. We do have some suggested amendments that we've put into our written testimony. We've given to the administration. We look forward to working with them on those, and unless there's questions, I'll be brief.
All right, we have a virtual witness, Lynn Heller with the Climate Access Fund. Lynn, are you with us? And if you are, welcome. And you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I am with you, and I hope you can see somehow my video is...
Yes, you're there.
Okay.
We see and hear you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, again, my name is Lynn Heller. I am the founder and CEO of the Climate Access Fund, which is a statewide nonprofit green bank that uses innovative finance to increase low-income participation, specifically in community solar. We fill gaps in the market that are preventing more low-income households from benefiting. We support HB 550 with 2 amendments. First, we recommend a cap be placed on 30% on annual compliance funds used for clean transportation efforts. The reason being that we want to make sure that sufficient funds remain for the benefit of low-income or environmental injustice communities through solar power. The Clean Energy Jobs Act, as you all know, requires that all RPS compliance funds be used to incentivize low-income access to solar. HB 550 proposes to divert some of that funding to be used for clean transportation. Because transportation is such an important sector in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, followed closely by buildings, the Climate Access Fund appreciates the Governor Moore's interest in using some of these compliance funds for transportation. But we're concerned that without a cap placed and only with language stating that the administration shall prioritize low-income and EJ benefit, that all compliance funds in theory could be spent by this administration or a future administration on clean transportation, leaving nothing to benefit the 450,000 low-income households in Maryland that very few of whom have access to solar. The second amendment we request is that all SEEF and compliance funds that are targeting low-income and EJ communities be limited to supporting projects that are below 1 megawatt in size and those that are located on rooftops and parking lots. Oh, and I see I'm out of time. The reason being the private market.
Go ahead and complete your thought.
Thank you. Private markets already cover projects that are above 1 megawatt. Public funds shouldn't be used to support project development that would happen without it. Thank you so much for your time.
We have a question from one of our friends from the Economic Matters Committee. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So, Josh, I have a question, and it's very narrow, and just brief response is good. Have you seen these, and before I ask the question, this bill speaks to these medium and heavy-duty trucks. Can you tell me what you think that's going to do and how that's going to help expand that marketplace through this bill? Or does it not have an effect?
At the time, I think that rebates for charging equipment and for trucks is useful to incentivize the industry. We believe that in a lot of cases, the trucks are competitive, and combined with state goals and pending advanced clean truck rule, a lot of people have to make that transition. But I think in some cases, having rebates and incentives will also certainly help out with some businesses that may need or desire more rebates to take earlier action.
Right, okay, so I mean, I see in the bill that there's a grant, and I haven't read the bill close enough to carry the conversation beyond where I'm getting ready to head. I was at the Detroit Auto Show this past year, and I saw for the first time a medium-sized, these weren't commercial vehicles like a semi-truck, but large box trucks, and the sheer size or scale of these batteries was, I'll use the word impressive. They were big, and since you're the organization that advocates for environmental policy, what is your thoughts on the vast expansion of battery construction, what it's going to take to do the mining to create these batteries, and then what do we do with these batteries when we are done with them? I think this is a valid question that your organization surely would be interested in, one, and then two, where do you see policy going as it relates to that?
I'm happy to attempt. I think that might be more germane for the bill sponsors or the advocates. I would leave that up to the chair.
Right.
Whatever. Yeah. I'm not going to force anybody to say anything. You're probably correct in your assessment.
Yeah. The only editorial I'd have to that is that these batteries were not small by any means, and technology will surely improve over time. But when I think Sierra Club, I think I hike the Appalachian Trail. I go on trips, and I'm thinking just generally through the lens of mining, the volume of cobalt that has to occur, and I do think that Sierra Club would be on the lead on issues related to what do we do post use of the batteries, and would like to hopefully think that that's part of maybe not this bill, but certainly a larger discussion that your organization would be right there for. Thank you, Chair.
Absolutely. And first, I do look forward to seeing you on one of the hikes coming up this spring. We'll send you the calendar.
I've done 200 miles of it.
Oh, awesome. I'll have information we'll share with the committee. We are looking into long-term, more equitable storage and disposal situations, and I also believe there'll be a task force enabled by the Climate Solutions Now Act intended to look further into this issue.
I was going to comment as to that. Yeah. Okay, there appear to be no further questions. Thank you very much. That concludes the public hearing on House Bill 550.